Hey, what is up guys? Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to Gran Turismo 7. Sticking with the theme of update 1.40, this time around I'm going to check out the brand new Sophy AI, which finally has some sort of full implementation in Gran Turismo 7. Now, it's maybe not in the way that people were kind of expecting, and I don't ever think it will be for the entirety of GT7's life cycle. I think a lot of people expected it to be put into all of the events and such, but in all honesty, I don't quite think that the AI itself is just quite there yet already. However, this is honestly a brand new standard for, I guess, racing AI. It really does feel like a complete game changer for single player. The last time we actually saw Sophy in terms of in Gran Turismo 7 was a little playtest way back in either February or March of 2023. At that point, it was some kind of, specced out races, so you'd have very specific cars, very specific tracks, and there was only around about 4 of them running on different difficulties, and it felt kind of like a bit of a play test, giving us a chance to kind of go in and test her out. But since then we kind of had absolutely nothing apart from a few videos online. Now, in terms of how it's featured currently in GT7 as of update 1.40, it spreads around 9 different tracks. So you've got a few in Americas, a few in Europe, and a couple in Asia. These are the ones that it seems to be programmed for. They're probably going to implement it a little bit more over time. In terms of the payouts, as you can see, depending on obviously your collector level and your circuit experience progress, you will get more or less, but it goes in the standard format that you're going to get less for beginner, less for intermediate, and then the most for professional. So it's going to be 2 laps or the minimum distance for the first 2 difficulties, and then on the most professional difficulty you're going to be taking on an extra lap on top of that, as well as obviously having the AI itself turned up to pretty much its maximum potential. So I'm going to go through difficulty by difficulty and just kind of have a quick look. Now, I know there's a lot of people that are worried about these emojis kind of popping up on screen here, there and everywhere, but you can turn them on off if you want to. So all you do is go into the display car names and then just turn it off. This way the kind of emoji itself won't pop up, but it'll still be racing with you. It is completely the Sophy AI, just without the annoying pop-ups and such. So here we go. This is going to be a race on the beginner difficulty. I just chose a standard Bugatti Veyron. There's nothing really different about this one, and obviously it's going to try and spec out as many cars with you. There's currently a bug in the system though that causes the sort of AI to be easily cheesed. So in the fact that if you go in with a fully tuned vehicle, you're going to be able to absolutely smash the AI. So at the minute, you're kind of limited to using stock vehicles, so that the AI itself will kind of spec out, pretty much towards the spec of your vehicle. I'm assuming that the current patch that's going around for the money glitch and stuff that'll probably come out either next week or maybe in a month's time will actually counter this, and Sophy will be able to use, sort of tuned vehicles more to your spec. It will kind of take those into account. However, in terms of the easy difficulty, let's just kind of go back onto that topic. It is just exactly that, far too easy. I don't really see this being any use to really anyone. It felt like it was almost too turned down. So next up we went for medium. Now, I went for a night race at Le Mans, just giving me a whole different feel to the event. I went for a 787B, so it's going to spec out with typical group 1 vehicles. Now, as you can see here, we've got 14 cars on grid. I believe this is a little bit more than what we saw with the beginner. In terms of the overall difficulty, again, because the 787B has got such straight line speed, I was quite easily able to make up a ton of positions on sort of the hybrid powered vehicles and some of the VGT group ones. But in terms of the group C vehicle that was leading in the form of the R92 CP, again, it did put up a decent enough battle. It felt like it was much more at the pace it should be. It's just the fact that the Group 1 class isn't always the best balance. There's some really easy vehicles for like straight lines, some that are better around the corners and such, and obviously Le Mans is a much more sort of speed track. You don't need all the downforce and such, but overall the AI did feel like a step up. Now, I would say if you're maybe not the most confident player, or maybe you're new to the game, then probably medium difficulty is going to be about right. It will still challenge you. The AI will move around a lot more. It will try and defend a lot more, and just overall it is a much better experience experience than, you know, what you'd see on beginner. I honestly feel like beginner is very much an obsolete difficulty. I think anything from medium to the professional difficulty is going to suit most players if you really want to see just how clever and how good this AI can race. Honestly, at this point, when you're on medium and over that, you're going to start seeing why this AI is going to be classed as some sort of game changer for single player racing, and that's exactly what it's meant to be. This is a really clever AI. It's insanely quick. I guess we've all seen the Nordschleifer video of, you know, the Sophy AI absolutely blasting around there, or, you know, drifting and such. And I did notice a few other individual changes to the AI, like it can make mistakes, it can spin out, it can cause accidents, it can have accidents. Just overall, considering the standard AI in Gran Turismo 7, which is just absolutely terrible, this just felt like a much more dynamic type of AI. I really feel like as we go forward and this AI begins to learn more of the tracks and, you know, more racing and more racing lines and such, and how to defend, and, you know, it's constantly making mistakes and stuff, you know, it's going to feel like a much more realistic approach. Currently, it's already pretty much spot on what you'd want from a single player AI, but definitely over time, as this grows and maybe into the future of other Gran Turismo games, this is going to be the new benchmark by an absolute mile. It is an amazing feeling AI already, so I'm excited to see what this thing can actually do down the line once it's got its balance in and it's learned more. However, there is a downside to it. Like I mentioned earlier with the bug itself, where it doesn't account for any tuned vehicles, this means that you can essentially really take advantage of the AI at present. Now, I'm assuming that the patch with the, you know, quick race not taking into account your performance points or tuning, this will kind of be equaled out, like I said. But even on the hardest difficulty, what you're seeing here, taking a fully tuned vehicle will just kind of make Sophy completely obsolete. Whilst it will still race in the normal fashion, it will try and defend, you can probably quite easily blast past them. As you can see here, I took a fully tuned Dodge Viper just to test this theory, and literally it just didn't balance out the cars just quite right. Again, I'm assuming that's down to this whole quick race, custom race, not taking into account your tuning or, you know, your fully upgraded vehicles and such. So it doesn't quite equal out correctly just yet. So just be aware of that. But like I said, if you do want a good challenge on the harder difficulties, ensure that you bring in something along that's, you know, at present at least stock, you know, in maybe a group 3, maybe a group 1 and such. This way you are going to see the best of the ability of Sophy. Now, in terms of the way it races on track on harder difficulties, it's very, very impressive. I recommend professional for anyone that's confident with it, and even for me, sometimes it will give me a very, very good challenge. However, in comparison to what we saw when there was less of the AI, you know, powered vehicles on track at one time back at the start of the year, I do feel like overall it's perhaps been turned down slightly. I do feel like it won't be as aggressive. It'll, you know, maybe be a little bit too easy to get past at times. You know, if you can outrun it, it's pretty much going to just back out and not bother to defend that move. But again, as long as you are fairly matched, there is a high chance that this thing is going to do everything it can to stop you getting past. And even if you attempt to outbrake it, it's then going to still try and find a way to get past you. This can lead to some very clumsy moves at times by the AI. Sometimes it will just try and absolutely overhit it, and it won't kind of take into account that your car may be turning in and such, and it can cause collisions. But like you see there in the background, when this AI gets it right, it gets it absolutely spot on. It will move off of its line, it will follow your slipstream, it will do everything it can to give you the best challenge possible. And that's where I said we're, you know, kind of like in the future, I could definitely see this being the best of the best. Once it's had that time to learn, once they've kind of got it all balanced out correctly for any difficulty and any player level, I could really see Sophy AI being the best thing apart from racing real people. And I think even at times, with the way it does race, it will provide you with a much cleaner and much better racing experience than you would see in something like sport mode with, you know, all the skill-based ranking and such. So overall, is it a game changer for sort of single player racing? Absolutely. Already from what we're seeing absolute glimpses of brilliance from this AI. The way it races you, the way it makes moves, the way it's constantly trying to, you know, think about the best path to get around you or the best path to defend. It'll ensure that you've got to go the long way around it. I honestly think Sophy AI is the future of AI racing. And in terms of single player racing itself, I'm insanely excited to see how this gets implemented as the kind of AI progresses and as the future goes on with these Gran Turismo games. It is as good as expected. It's absolutely fantastic. Yes, it does feel like they've perhaps turned it down slightly, but if you want a challenge in a single player racing game with an AI that feels dynamic, that can make mistakes, that can, you know, defend well from you, that can overtake you and give you a challenge at pretty much any skill level, then in all honesty, you just cannot go wrong with Sophy AI. It's a fantastic thing, and it honestly just feels like absolute progress. It's a great feature. If you haven't already, I do fully recommend checking it out, because in all honesty, I think this could be an absolute game changer for single player racing. That's it from me today. I'll see you in the next one. Take care, guys. Peace.